Previously on the Virtual Shelling Network.
I brought with me some amazing beach treasures today, and what I'm going to be doing is going through some of the common shells and not so common shells that you guys may find out here on the beach and in and around Southwest Florida. Everybody likes sharks, right? Who doesn't love sharks? These are shark eyes, and they're called shark eyes because, well, they look like shark eyes. All different sizes of shark eyes. They come in light colors, they come in dark colors. We call these the Paul Newman shark eyes because it is a blue eye in the middle. And they also have little baby shark eyes. Baby shark, doo 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 doo. I know now you guys are gonna have that song in your head all day. And this is about as large as you will find a shark eye, so it is very fun to find them nice and big like that too. And this one's a little bit more of a tan colored, so sometimes they're gray, sometimes they're tan, sometimes they have a little bit more of a swirly pattern on them, but they are super fun to find, and they are often mistaken for moon snails, also known as gaudy nauticas. And I know that a lot of you are super fans of gaudy nauticas. So they do look a lot similar in the shape of the shell, but gaudy nauticas have a different type of pattern to them, and they are also a different color. So they are more golden in color, and this one you can see this pattern a little bit better. They do have you can see a little bit of striping there, a little bit of markings. So a lot different of a pattern. And they also have a little bit more of, if you can see, this is a little bit more pronounced, if you can see that, than the shark eye that is a little bit more flat here, if you can see that. We do also see some tree snails, and I wasn't able to find one. I know I have a couple at home, but that's not usually something that I pick up. But they are often confused with tree snails as well, which are usually white, and they'll usually have a lip here. So there'll be a little bit of a thick lip here on the aperture side. But they do look a little bit similar, but they are land snails and tree snails, and so their shell will be a little bit thinner as well. The other snail that is commonly mistaken for either a shark eye or a gaudy nautica is going to be your apple snail. Sometimes we find apple snails on the beach. It is not common because they are a freshwater snail, commonly found over in the canals and lakes, but sometimes one of the shells will fall into one of the canals, it'll go to the river, that'll come out to the Gulf and end up on the beach. So this is what they look like. And they are a really fun shell for shellers to find. So a lot of times we do go apple snailing, and if you are subscribed to the Virtual Shelling Network or you have seen the apple snailing episode, A is for apple and alligator, then you will know exactly how and where we go to find these fun snails. So the shells are very, very thin, much thinner than a typical saltwater mollusk, and they get very, very large. Look how fun. And they come in different shades. and colors and patterns as well. So there's a really pretty white one. And let's see, I've got a couple other ones here I'll put over here so you guys can see. And some of these have been sent out in the subscription shell boxes as well. So these are really fun to clean up, get oiled, and then put in a nice bowl on your table. So that's how we display ours at home, in a nice wooden bowl on our table. So they're super fun too, all a little bit different, but very similar and all the same. So hopefully that teaches you the difference between shark eyes, gaudy nauticas, and apple snails. All right, another super common shell that I love to find is the Muraxes. So first we're gonna talk about the apple Muraxes. This is a pretty big one, and then I have a ginormous one from our private collection that we found down in the 10,000 Island. So this is probably the biggest one that we've ever found. And they can be lighter, they can be darker, and they look really beautiful oiled. Another Murax that we find is the lace Murax. So these are usually white. They can be off-white too. So this one isn't pure white, but it does have a pretty little peach tip on it. And those are really fun. I love to find the lace Muraxes. Again, it depends on the individual shell. I always strive to find ones that have, like this one is an excellent example of that really delicate lace. You want to kind of just look for ones that just have that perfect lacing. So this one that I'm holding right now, if you can see, like these edges on the outside just has such detail in that lace. So I'm always looking for those really great specimens. And then Calbert's Murax is another one that is not a common find here, more common on the east coast of Florida. And they are super fun. They've got this long spiny tail. Love to find these. This one was found over here on this coast, and we have found them on the other coast as well. But this one was found on this coast, which is why it is so special to me, because it is more of that rare find. And I love the spines that you can see, and they are super fun. They are a little bit larger than the rose Murax, which is I'm going to show you here in a second. And again, these shells tend to be on the rare side. So if you find one, that is awesome. These are a beautiful peachy pink color. Now this one does not have much of a tail, but it is really pretty in color. And then I'm going to show you a better specimen of one here that you can see has excellent color. You can see the little spines here, and then it does have much better of a tail. So this is a much nicer specimen of that rose Murax that is so sought after. So here is kind of a little display of a look at your different Murax varieties. All right, so let's talk about the lightning whelk. So this is another super common shell that everybody loves to find, all different sizes, from the teeny tiny little hatchling whelks that we find, and you can find them even bigger than this. They come in the Mondo ginormous size. They come in light shades, they come in dark shades, they come in, the pattern is usually relatively similar, but some of them have more of the lightning pattern, like the lightning bolts coming down the sides, than others. Some have kind of a striping pattern like this, some are more solid. They're just so fun. Some of them have a really amazing pattern on the top there of the swirlies. I absolutely love finding lightning whelks. This is a really special one that I had found. Check out the color on this one. If you guys can see, it's really bright out here, and I'm really hoping that you guys can see how orange this lightning whelk is. It's literally like a sunset color. It is so pretty. I have no idea how it's that color, but I was very, very excited when I found it. So again, super common shell, and this is a super rare color of a super common shell. So that is what I look for when I am looking for super common shells that we find all the time. I also want to show you guys different kinds of the whelk varieties. So this is going to be your pear whelk. So let me just move this little guy out of the way here. So this is going to be your pear whelks here. And your pear whelks are oftentimes lighter in color, but they still have kind of a peachy stripy pattern here. And they also are opposite right-handed. Okay, so if we flip over a lightning whelk, you're gonna see the aperture or the opening is gonna be on the left side. So we call this left-handed. If we flip over the pear whelk, the aperture opening is on the right hand here, so we call that right-handed. If you find a right-handed lightning whelk, more than likely it's a knobbed whelk, which is a different species. And yes, those whelks are right-handed normally. All right, another shell that people find that they get confused often with the pear whelk is the paper fig. And this one also is right-handed. So if you flip it over, you're gonna have the aperture opening here on the right side. And they do look very, very similar. The main difference is going to be with your paper fig, they're much more round. They lack the pattern. They're usually one solid color. They're extremely paper thin, hence paper fig, and you'll be able to feel the difference. I mean, this is a pretty solid shell, this pear whelk here, where the paper fig literally feels like you could crush it in your hand. Also, you'll notice there's this little nub here at the top. It really doesn't have much of a spiral here at the top like the pear whelk does. So they're a little bit different in shape. And then I'm just gonna put a lightning whelk here next to it so you guys can see the difference between the three shells. So you have your lightning whelk here on the left, your paper fig in the middle, and your pear whelk on the right-hand side. All right, another one of husband's favorite shells. He absolutely loves nutmegs. This is about as big as they get, but they come in such a variety of shades. Usually they're white with some brown, but they do come in other shades as well. So these are just some in our private collection. This is probably the biggest one that we've ever found. I think we did find one that was a little bit larger, but it was pretty rough and beat up and bleached. So this is probably the biggest nice specimen of nutmeg that we've found. And then we have found some like this with a really cool white pattern on it, those really dark coloring. And then we have two here that also have that really dark coloring. Love those dark nutmegs. So I'll put those there for you guys to see. Another fun thing to look for when you are searching for shells is albino species. So we have found an albino nutmeg. Albino means it lacks pigment. So that means the shell is completely white. Now it doesn't count for a shell like an angel wing that is already white. They don't have any color anyway. So what that means is you need to find a shell that normally has color and then it doesn't have any color. So another example is here. This is an albino whelk. So this absolutely lacks all color. And remember, this is different than having a shell that's just bleached, okay? Albino truly means it's a shell that doesn't have any color. Here is an albino lace murex, because again, the lace murexes can have color to them. And then here is an albino fighting conch. So I have seen some people find some shells. I'm just gonna give you guys an example. This is just a really worn and tumbled alphabet cone, and the letters have just tumbled off. If you look really closely, you can still see a little bit of the orange there on the top. So this is not an albino, it's just a really worn and tumbled shell. So an albino is gonna be truly white. A baby's ear is another shell that is naturally white anyway. So we wouldn't call this albino, we would just call it white. So just keep that in mind, that as you're shelling, when you come across a fighting conch or a lightning whelk or a nutmeg and it's pure white, that's really amazing because it may be albino, and that is truly an awesome find. I love king crowns. We don't find them often. They're usually found in brackish water, so on the bay side. Sometimes you'll find them here on the Gulf side, but not very often. We also usually find pieces. The ones that we find on the bayside are usually alive. It's often sometimes hard to find these shells that are empty, but they are so fun. A lot of the time, because of where they live in the muddy water, they are covered in the periostracum, which is going to be the skin of the shell. So if you can see here, there's usually a thick periostracum here. And a lot of times they will also be covered in kind of a calcium layer. These are shells that it's very common for people to dip them in the acid, the muriatic acid. I am not a fan of acid dipping shells. It's just, I've seen way too many shells ruined. It's a dangerous chemical. If you want to do it, I just highly recommend researching. Use the proper protective equipment for your eyes, your hands, your clothes, and your shells as well, and be sure that you know how to store it. If you're looking for an alternative, I just recommend simple mineral oil. It's very, very safe, and it does the same thing as dipping it in water, which I just did. So now you can clearly see the color is just all there, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful shell, and you don't have to worry about damaging the shell at all. So I just use mineral oil for all of my shells. The ones that aren't oiled today, I'm just simply dipping it in a little bit of water just to show you the same thing that it would do. Look at how it just brightens it up nice and easy without any damage at all. And mineral oil just does the same thing as water, only it just lasts longer. So very, very safe for your shells. I absolutely love these king crowns. I just think that they're so fun and so pretty, and I love the ones with the actual crown spines. You don't find them often that have those really awesome spines on there. So very cool shells to find. All right, I didn't bring any giant horse conchs today, but these do get pretty large. And these are a very common shell to find and super, super fun. So I did bring a variety of sizes, and these sizes, which I consider kind of like the, you know, the mid-size, are kind of my favorite. Now these and smaller are the most common sizes to find. So we find a lot of these that are about like 1.5 inches and smaller. And then when we start getting about this size to this size, those are the more uncommon sizes to find, and I absolutely love finding them. They do come in a variety of shades, so you can see this one is very, very light, and this one here is very, very vibrant, and you can even see the difference in the shades. Now this doesn't mean that they're bleached out, it just means that that's just the natural shade of the shell. So some of them are going to be very, very orange. Some of them are going to be lighter, like a lighter yellow. This one right here is still covered with the periostracum, which is the skin of the shell. So all of this brown that you see, that is what is the skin of the shell when it is alive. So there's a couple ways to remove that if you want to. Not everybody wants to remove it. Some people think that it gives the shell character. Some people think that it makes the shell look more natural, but you can remove that. This one kind of has it kind of coming off a little bit, but you can put it in bleach. The stronger the bleach, the more it will come off. Sometimes the larger the shell, the longer you have to let the bleach sit in there, but it will dissolve that periostracum off. And then this one has already been bleached, so you can see there's a tiny little bit remaining right here, but this is what it looks like when all of that comes off. So this one I haven't bleached yet, but you can see that it still has some of that skin still left on there. And it just kind of depends on if you like it or you want it to come off. It just depends. But the other option is you can leave it out in the sun and eventually it will flake off. The issue with that is the sun will start to bleach out the shell. So I prefer the bleach method, just a couple days of a strong bleach, making sure that when the periostracum is dissolved that you take the shell out and then just wash it off really well. So love finding horse conchs. Here we've got another super common shell that everybody loves to find, and that is tulips. You usually can count on finding tulips on the beach. I wouldn't say they're common all the time, but they're a common shell to find here in Southwest Florida. They come in a variety of shades. So you have dark ones like this here. You've got really light ones. You've got ones that are kind of orange. You've got ones with light striping. You've got ones with dark striping. This one either even has multi-striping, so you can see it has a thick stripe and then a thin stripe here, which is really fun. We find teeny tiny ones. We also find ginormous ones. So I'm going to show you a couple here that are the biggest ones that we found. So this one right here and this one right here are probably the two largest that we've ever found, just to give you an idea. And then I want to show you too the difference between the true tulip and your traditional banded tulip. So your banded tulips are going to be on the top with the stripes or bands. The true tulips also sometimes have some striping, as you can see, but they're more solid in color. So some of them, like this one, are completely solid in color, and then other ones still have some of the little bit of striping, but they're not going to have the same wide bands as you're going to see on your banded tulips. So I'm just going to give you guys a little quick variety here of the tulips that we have. Now, the fun thing about the true tulips is they come in a variety of sizes. So that right there, that's just kind of a medium-sized true tulip. They can get very, very dark, like that one, and they can also get very, very large. So you can see up here, and I'll move these down, you can see just how big these true tulips can get. And this is the largest one that we've ever found, which is pretty huge. Isn't that pretty amazing? So that is a view of your true tulips. Now, moving on, we only have a couple more things here in the shell department. I already covered this angel wing in the beginning here, so I'll go ahead and move this over here. We've got the bucket list shells, so I call them. Over here, we have the amazing Scotch Bonnets. So these Scotch Bonnets are so fun. They are not common on this coast, but they are super common on the East Coast. So they're a shell that's found all the time over there, just not here. You can see that sometimes they have these awesome little speckled patterns, and they also get much bigger than this. They get much, much bigger than this. This is kind of like a decent sized Scotch bonnet, but they do get very, very large. Some of them, like this one, will be more bleached or light colored, and they don't really have much of a pattern. This one has a pattern if I oil it up a little bit, but they are still such a fun bucket list shell to find. And then finally, we have the Junonia. There are people that go their entire life trying to find these elusive shells. Now, the Junonias are so super fun to find. I love finding Junonias. These are 3 of the 5 that we have in our collection. This one kind of has an oddity here at the top. So they are super fun to find. Some of them have, you know, more of a pattern than others. This one kind of has a darker pattern with a really nice dark pointed tip to it. So it just kind of just depends on, you know, the color and the pattern, but Junonias most of the time look very similar. You'll know the difference between the Junonia and the alphabet cone because Junonias have very distinctive spots, whereas an alphabet cone doesn't quite have the same distinctive spots on it. It has spots, but they're kind of like blurred together. Junonias kind of have those like polka dot spots on there. So that's how you'll know it's a Junonia. I will also say that pieces or fragments of Junonias are also really awesome to find. So if you come across a Junonia chunk like this and it's just a fragment, that is still such a cool find. So don't ever think that just because you found only a piece of Junonia, that is still super awesome. You can have that made into a piece of jewelry or put that in top of your shell bowl. That is super, super awesome to find for sure. So don't ever think that just a piece of a Junonia isn't something that you should keep. You should absolutely keep your fragments, especially for Junonias. I even keep fragments of really pretty alphabet cones and really pretty true tulips as well, as most of you know. So that is your collection of bucket list shells and rare shells and fun shells and unusual shells. All right, guys, before I wrap up, I just wanted to do a quick little segment on some beach treasures that you may find during these videos and on your beach walks, and some of the things that you may be getting in your subscription shell boxes. So one of those things is operculum. So these are going to be the little trap doors of the seashells when they are alive. So let me just grab a shell really quick here, if I can find one that I think might fit this little door. So this is the little trap door, and this side right here is where the animal attaches to. Oops, flaking off there. So this would basically fit right in there like that. So that would be the little trap door of the shell. And I couldn't tell you if it was from a Welk or a Horse Conch or a Tulip, but this is what they look like. So those are little fun little beach treasures to find. Also, this is a ray plate. So this is a mouthpiece of a stingray, and you guys might remember that from one of the recent episodes that I found that on. And also we have fun things such as barnacle clusters. You guys know I love barnacle clusters. And also barnacles attached to shells and scallops like this. So that's always really fun too. I also love crab claws. So crab claws are something that is super fun, for me to find, as my crab claw just kind of fell apart there. They are really fragile, I will say. When they dry out, those ligaments start to come apart because they are tissue and they do start to dry out. So make sure that if you get any of these beach treasures, you are very fragile with them and you're not too rough with them, because they do tend to sometimes fall apart like that. So this one right here looks like it could have been from a blue crab. This one looks like it's from a stone crab, and then this is a flame box crab. So different type of crab claws, which are super fun. Here we have some mermaid purses or skate or shark egg casings. So I absolutely love to find those. They are not very common for us to find, but some of you did get some for Christmas this year. So you'll have to let me know if you were one of the ones who received those in your beach treasure box for Christmas. We do also love egg casings. Speaking of egg casings, we do have some lightning Welk egg casings here. We have some tulip and horse conch egg casings here. Tulip, horse conch, tulip, and then we have an apple murex egg casing here. And then let's see what else we have. We have a couple starfish. So we always make sure that anytime we take sea life, we make sure that it is completely deceased and no longer alive. Same thing with our sea urchin. So this sea urchin is no longer alive, and this one isn't either, but this is one that still has the spines on for you guys to see. This no longer has a little creature inside, but you'll be able to see what it looks like with the spines on. We also have sea beans or sea pearls. So this is a little sea pearl. Love to find those. Again, not super common, but I love to find them. And finally, we have some crab shells. So this is a spider crab shell here. We have a calico or leopard crab shell here, and a speckled crab shell here. And then we have a purse crab here, which I love those. Those are so cute. And we finally, the last little treasure I brought is a crucifix. So this is actually a catfish skull bone. And you guys hear it rattle. Sometimes you'll still have the rattle inside, which is kind of cool too. So this is a catfish bone. So lots of beach treasures for you guys to see. and I hope that you enjoyed this little tutorial. All right, guys, thanks so much for joining me today on this super fun episode on the Virtual Shelling Network, learning some seashell identification, checking out some shells in our private collection, and also learning about some of the common and not so common shells that you can find during these virtual shelling episodes, and also if you come down here and shell in person on Sanibel or the surrounding areas and beaches. One of the favorite things that I love to do is, again, find those common shells, but find the not so common varieties of them. So I hope you learned something new. I hope you enjoyed seeing all the fun, beautiful shells. And I hope this inspires you to build your own collection. And as you receive shells, whether it's in your Beach Treasure Box subscription every month, or as you collect your own shells, I hope this inspires you to build your own private collection and choose those shells that are super special and fun for you and that you enjoy. Thanks so much for your support, and until next time, have a shell-tastic day. Bye-bye.